Hello everyone, welcome to Sermon Prep. Well, Lent has begun. We have started our Lenten journey. Yesterday, so many people came to receive ashes. At all the masses, the church was full. How wonderful it was to see old familiar faces back again. It is our real hope and prayer that we will journey together over these 40 days to the great feast of our salvation, Easter. I hope that we will all be together to celebrate Easter. So, this Sunday is the first Sunday of Lent in Year C. Remember, Year C, we're looking at Luke's Gospel. Let's take a look at all the readings though. The first reading is taken from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26, verses 4 to 10. The psalm that we use to respond to the readings is Psalm 91, and the little verse is, "Be with me, O Lord, when I am in distress." That's a good response for the season of Lent. It is, this season, an opportunity for us to come back to the Lord, to be close to Him. And so it is good that we invite Him into our hearts, that we invite Him to be part of our Lenten journey. Be with me, O Lord. Be with me, O Lord, in these 40 days. Be with me as we journey to Easter. The second reading is taken from St. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 10, verses 8 to 13. And then the Gospel is taken from St. Luke's Gospel, chapter 4, verses 1 to 13. I wonder if you can remember the baptism of the Lord. It seems such a long time ago now, doesn't it? But it actually isn't that long ago, about 2 months. The baptism of the Lord, on that great feast day, we read Luke's version of the baptism of Jesus. On that Sunday, we spoke about how baptism initiates our life of discipleship. And if you remember, in our parish, we had an opportunity to write one of our hopes, our expectations, our dreams for our discipleship over the year, over this 2022. What did we want to achieve with our discipleship? And if you come to the church, you will see that there is a bowl in front of the baptismal font with all our bits of paper in, with all our dreams, our hopes, our resolutions and expectations. Well, this Sunday, we read of the temptation of Jesus in the desert. That happened immediately after he was baptized in the River Jordan by John. The baptism of Jesus was the start of his ministry. And immediately after that, he is tempted, he is challenged. And there is a time in the desert, 40 days, where Jesus has to consider what his ministry will be about, how difficult the challenges will be, and how he will respond. And so, for our season of Lent this year in the parish, we're looking at how we will respond to our baptisms. How will we live our discipleship? Remember those expectations. Those expectations are about our discipleship. And this period of Lent helps us to reflect on those, to consider how we live our discipleship, what challenges face us, what temptations there are not to live as a disciple of Jesus. And so our Lenten theme is acts of love. Disciples are meant to act with love. Jesus acted with love. The temptations, the three temptations we read about in the gospel, were all temptations to focus on himself, to not act with love to those around him. And we all face those temptations. So there is a very nice, clear link between the baptism of Jesus and discipleship. I hope that we will see that and reflect on that over this period of Lent. So let's have a look at the temptations. The first temptation of Jesus, of course, is to turn the stones into bread. We are all tempted to think and focus on ourselves, aren't we? We're all tempted to make sure that we get our own needs first. And the temptation facing Jesus was real. But the thing is, if Jesus had given into this first temptation, he wouldn't have been like us, would he? If he could use his divine power to change those stones into bread, then he wouldn't have had a real experience of what it means to be human. Because we can't do that. We can't have all our needs satisfied. All of us have disappointments and challenges. All of us have regrets. And we can't just change them. We've got to learn to live with those. We've got to learn to accept our weaknesses and our limitations. That doesn't mean God doesn't love us. That doesn't mean we are not able to accomplish wonderful, great things with God. But we are creatures. We are limited. And so that first temptation is really, really important. The second temptation is that he takes Jesus and shows him all the kingdoms of the world and says, I will give you power. I'll give you control over all these. That's a temptation we all face. Look at what's happening in Eastern Europe at the moment, Russia and the Ukraine. Isn't what's happening there an abuse of power, a desire to have more power, to control, to dominate? It's really very clear, isn't it? But that temptation is in all of us, to control, not to be second. We want to succeed. We want glory. We want to be recognized as successful. And that's a common temptation. Those first two temptations of Jesus happen in the desert, we are told. Then all of a sudden we go to Jerusalem. He takes him to Jerusalem for the third temptation, to throw himself off the parapet. Because surely God will protect him, God will lift him up, God will prevent him from falling. And so that temptation is around trust. Do you really trust God? You know, there's some people, some Christians, who find it very easy to trust God when things are going well, when we are blessed, when we have a good job, when we have health. But when things get tough, when we start to suffer, when we're sick, when we lose our job, then it becomes more difficult to trust. We have got to learn to trust God always. Discipleship, dear friends, is very much around all these three temptations. To accept our limitedness, but also to know that with God, great things are possible. The second thing is to be able to be humble, servants of one another, of God. And the third is to trust. Those temptations, if we give in to them, corrodes our discipleship, corrodes our living for Jesus It prevents us from being good missionary disciples, people who reach out to others with acts of love. And so as we reflect on this gospel, as we celebrate this first Sunday of Lent, it's good for us to see where we are tempted in these areas and where our discipleship is hurt when we give in to those temptations. The first reading from Deuteronomy speaks of the first fruits. Imagine somebody gave you a whole lot of money to do something wonderful, to have a big party perhaps, or host a wedding, or do something amazing. Would you not, first of all, want to invite that person because they've given you the resources to throw the party, to have the wedding, to do this wonderful thing? Yeah, I'm sure you would. You'd say, you know, come along, be part of it. And you'd want them to enjoy it the most, wouldn't you? Well, in many ways, that's what the offering of the first fruits by the people of Israel is about. They recognize that God has given all the things they enjoy, and so they offer them back. Lord, won't you be a part? Won't you share in our gifts that you have given us? And so it is, in many ways, an act of faith, this offering of their gifts. We acknowledge that you have given these to us, so we invite you to share them with us. It's a sign of our faith and trust that God is the giver of everything we have. Just an interesting thing. The extract we have for this Sunday is to verse 10. But if we read further on, and we read, in fact, verse 11, we read this: you must then lay them, the first fruits, before the Lord your God, and bow down in the sight of the Lord your God. Then you are to feast on all the good things the Lord has given you, you and your household, and with you the Levite and the stranger who lives among you. So the first fruits weren't offered to be burnt as a holocaust. We know that's very often how they offered their gifts to the Lord, their sacrifices, burnt offerings. But the first fruits weren't offered to be burnt. They were shared with others, especially the poor, the stranger, the outcast. The gifts they had received were shared with God and with the poor. That's what Lent is about, isn't it? Sharing what we have. That's what almsgiving is about. That's why we give to the Bishop's Lenten Appeal. That's why we give up things, so that we can share those things with the poor. We don't just, lose weight, get a six-pack, live healthier because we've given up all those things. It's not about us benefiting. It's about us sharing our gifts with others. The letter to the Romans, our second reading, is also a profession of faith. Look at how it starts. What does the scripture say? The word is near you, on your lips and in your heart. Because if you confess with your lips that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Profession of faith. Dear friends, living our discipleship is about professing our faith with our lips, but also with our heart, in our prayer, but also in our acts of love. As disciples, we profess our faith. It's not about coming to church. It's not about being good little Catholic Christians in the church for an hour on a Sunday. No. We do that so that we can profess our faith in the world. We can show others God's love for them. in our love, our concern, our compassion for them, they know that we are Christians. They know that we are disciples, that we're struggling, weak though we may be, to live our discipleship. So, can we do that? Can we do that? This Lent offers us an opportunity. It offers us all an opportunity to act with love, to live our baptismal promises. Those promises we will renew on Easter Day. Those promises that reaffirm our commitment to acts of love, to discipleship, to living close to Jesus. Dear friends, I hope that you will come and join us on Sunday. A reminder that there is a Sunday evening Mass too at 5 p.m. We're reinstituting that. So there are 4 Masses, ample opportunity for you to celebrate and rejoice in the love of God. If you can't, for any reason, ill health, traveling, you are still vulnerable, please join us online. But everyone else, we hope to see you in person. God bless. Have a great rest of the week and a holy start to your Lent. Bye-bye.